Shri Sai Ram. Welcome to Sri Satya Sai Logaseva Gurukulam video session. In the previous class, we were discussing about the Stone Age. In that, different names it was given to Stone Age. Do you remember that? Yes. Paleolithic Age, Mesolithic Age and Neolithic Age. In that period, during that period, men were using stone tools. And you can see in this picture. During that period, I was discussing about the Stone Age period. They were using stone tools. Initially, they were using it because they were not aware about any other things other than the stone tools. Later, they have found that the stone tools, it will break in between, durability is not good, it is not so sharper, because continuously if they use that efficiency, it will not be much effective. Coming to next period, that is the age of metals. And I am going to start with Chalcolithic Age. Do you know which is the first metal invented by man? Yes, that is copper. And here we are going to learn in detail about this Chalcolithic Age. Humans no longer gathered food and used stone implements. As I told in the introduction part, man, they were not satisfied with the further use of these stone tools. Here also, when I speak Chalcolithic, just understand that it means copper. As I just now told, this chalco, it means copper, the first metal invented by man, that is copper. And it is the Greek word, this chalco, that means copper. As I told in the previous class, lithic means stone. So, men, they started mixing both stone tools and copper, and a new age, it is called as Chalcolithic Age. Is it clear now? So, humans no longer gathered food and used stone implements. So, we have even discussed mixed farming. Even towards the end of Neolithic Age, man, they started mixed farming. They started cultivation. So, just understand that rather than food gatherers, they slowly became food producers, and they started reduce the usage of stone tools. Here, Chalcolithic Age, people used copper for making implements. So, even the weapons, they started making copper weapons or tools, and mainly copper mixed with stone. A new age, it is called Chalcolithic Age. Copper was the first metal to be melted by heat in order to make implements. So, man, they started digging and found a metal called copper. And they've understood that copper, if it is melted, a tool or weapons can be made. So, this period mainly they both mixed both copper and even stone tools it was used. That is why it is called as Chalcolithic Age. As new materials were discovered, they started experimenting with them. Similarly, as the new metal, when they got this new metal, they started experimenting with that metal, and it is called as Chalcolithic Age. Is it clear, children? The durability of this copper was not so strong. They have understood that this copper, it is the first metal invented by man. Further, they were digging, they got a new metal which is called as bronze. Even now, you might be familiar with the bronze medals and all. We are familiar with this bronze even now. So, just understand that, see, copper, even we can see copper utensils and all used for puja in temples and all. At the same time, men had understood that the copper is not so strong. Then they have found a new metal called bronze. It is copper. They have mixed different alloys together and new metal is found, that is bronze. Copper and tin mixed together, they have invented a new metal which is called bronze. They have found that bronze is more stronger compared to this copper. Copper was mixed with metals like zinc, tin and lead to produce bronze. So, new metal which is used during that period, and that period is called as Bronze Age. When people started using bronze, it was called as Bronze Age. Metal tools were more effective than earlier stone implements. So, stone tools it used to break. So, they have understood this is the durability is more and it is more sharper compared to the stone tools, and this period is called as Bronze Age. When man started using bronze weapons, tools and all, it is called as Bronze Age. Metallic knives and axes were helpful in cutting down trees, and more land was cleared for agriculture. And we have discussed in the previous class. During the Neolithic period, man started this agriculture. They started settled life. And just understand, for the cultivation, they started slowly clearing the forest. And they have found that the weapons or the tools made of these metals are more sharper and stronger, and it can be used for cutting the trees. So, is it clear now? Metallic knives and axes were helpful in cutting down trees, and more land was cleared for agriculture. So, men started using these weapons for clearing the forest, and not only that, it is used for very effectively for digging the land and for the cultivation. The period when humans used both metals and small pieces of stone is called as Chalcolithic Age. As I told, copper and stone tools, both they were using, it is called Chalcolithic Age, and implements of this age have been found at Brahmagiri in Mysore, Nawabtoli near Narmada river, and as well as in the Chota Nagpur plateau. From these places, from the artifacts which we have collected, from that we are getting the information that ancient period or prehistoric men, they were familiar with this Chalcolithic Age, or they were familiar with copper, and we have understood about bronze and other metals like tin and even zinc. So, here we can see the picture. In that you can see the tools used by the early men. And previous class I have discussed that prehistoric period, rather than the period where men started writing history, the longest period, it was the prehistoric period. Beginning of community life. When men started this cultivation, and as I told, from the nomadic life, they have started settled life. When they started this settled life, they started making small huts and all for their survival. They were no more having this nomadic life. And slowly, when man started living on the banks of rivers, then started this community life. So, living in groves. Agriculture, mixed farming, development of tools and discovery of wheel all led to a settled life, which was the beginning of this village life. So, all these had worked together, and then man started living in a community in groups. So, agriculture is one reason. Another one is mixed farming. They started this cultivation together, And development of tools, different metallic tools also they were familiar with, and also the discovery of wheel. See, initially they were familiar with wooden wheels, and that has changed when by the invention of metals they were familiar with metallic wheels, and led to the settled life, which was the beginning of village life. So they started having this community life or village life. By now, the groups of human beings that had settled together had become larger. So, when they started living in community, that has become a larger group. As I told, they were living in huts. When they started living in these village groups or in community, instead of that huts, they started living in row houses, like one after another. Houses will be there, and at the same time it will be having the common walls, and that slowly led to the community life. Large groups, it was good for them to live together as a community. Continuing with the topic, beginning of community life, and a large group needed someone who could maintain law and order and some disciplines. So just understand that, see, when they are living in group, some or another disputes might be there, or it might be the attack from some wild animals, so they need to protect themselves. So as they were living in group, there was one person who had taken up the leadership to maintain some law and order in that community. So it was natural that they chose one such person amongst themselves who could lead them. So they have chosen a leader. Later on, this leadership, it has got the position like king. But here it is just a village having a community, having a leader. Various groups decided their own method of choosing a leader. So they had used different techniques to choose their own leader. The leader was more often the oldest person in the group, and sometimes it could be the strongest person in the community. So just understand that when they chose the leader, it can be the eldest member of the family or the strongest person in the group. So just understand that when they chose the leader, it was the oldest member of the community, or even they kept one criteria as the strongest person in that group. The leader looked after the law and order of the settlement. So they themselves made some rules and regulations. Suppose when you are playing a match, cricket, you will be making some rules and regulations among yourselves. Similarly, as a group, when they settled in group, they made some rules and regulations for the community. If a dispute arose, suppose if there is any petty fights or something, any dispute arose between any two members of the group, the leader would act as the mediator. So the leader took the leadership to solve dispute between the members of the group. Gradually, these settlements became even larger. As I told, see, when they settle together, it has the larger group of people, they started living together as a community. Towns and cities started coming up. So slowly it is like the towns or city life, it started coming up, and the area around the rivers Saraswati and Indus were the places where the first Indian cities came up around 2500 BC. BC means before Christ, even before the period where we started writing history. So it is the prehistoric period. So just understand, see, the men, when they started settling down on the banks of these two rivers, we have discussed about Indus Valley civilization. So Even here we are mentioning the name of the river Saraswati, not only Indus. Indus is of course there. Along with that we are mentioning the name of the river as Saraswati. The name, see, actually it is believed that this Saraswati is flowing underground now. And about this river Saraswati, it is even mentioned in Vedas, especially Rig Veda. So just understand how this is how man started this, having this city life or having this township. It was the Indus Valley civilization, also called as Indus Saraswati civilization by some historians, after the discovery of the sites in Harappa. So we have learned about our own ancient civilization. Men started living on the banks of river Indus, and they are having their own city life. Like two important cities we have found out in Indus Valley civilization, that is Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, were having most well planned city life they were having. So we came to know about this civilization by the artifacts, by getting the information from the artifacts which we got from the banks of this Indus Valley, Indus River. That is how we came to know about this Indus Valley civilization. Now, though it is given as religion, we are not discussing the religion as such. It is just when men started worshipping the nature. Here we are not discussing any religion with a name. Human beings all over the world have fear of unknown. So they were scared of nature. Even in the Stone Age period, we have discussed that men were scared of this nature. They were scared of this thunder and lightning. So they started worshipping the nature. Any event which was not understood by them was held in awe and soon became sacred. So wherever, whatever it is happening in the nature, when they were scared of that, they started worshipping that. The same happened with early humans. The earth assumed the status of mother figure. So even now we know Mother Earth. So this has started from the ancient period. The earth assumed the status as a mother, and which provided food for all living beings and her children, because Mother Earth is providing entire living being with this food, and whatever we need, everything is provided by this Mother Earth. So they gave this status of the ancient period, men gave status to Mother Earth as the living being. The earth assumed the status of mother figure, which provided food for all the living beings and her children. So as the livestock, it is mainly dependent upon this Mother Earth. They gave importance to Mother Earth. They started worshipping Mother Earth. The sun gave life and warmth. So when they see sun, they have understood that the sun is giving warmth, and also mainly we are depending upon the life. The sun gave life and also gave warmth. It was also reassuring. After the dark night, the same for the moon, stars, rains, etc. So while they were observing nature, daytime and nighttime both, the sun is giving warmth and moon is giving that peace. So just understand that they are giving importance. When they observe nature, they were familiar with even night and also the stars, moon, sun, everything. People started worshipping the nature. They started sacrificial rituals and sang songs in praise of these natural objects. So as years passed, just understand that they started sacrificial rituals slowly. It is not in the present form, but maybe in the starting stage, the sacrificial rituals they started, and even started singing songs in praise of these natural objects like Mother Earth, sun, moon, stars, etc., etc. And were magical practitioners who claimed that they could prevent people from coming to harm by them. So those who have done rituals, they got the position like priests. They were the one who started acting as the mediators who will be helping them to protect the people from the natural, from the nature. Some individuals decided to perform sacrificial rituals and rites and pray for the community. Such persons were known as the priests. So people, they had realized that the death was the journey from which people never returned. So one more thing they have realized, that see, once people die, they are not going to come back. And we have even discussed that in the previous classes, like Egyptian civilization, even ancient period, they believed in this life after death, and they have mummified the dead body with the things used by those person, things used by that person who had died. So they began to follow the practice of making graves for burying the dead. So here just understand a new information. During this period, they started making graves for burying the dead bodies, and they covered the graves with large stones called megaliths. Here just understand, when the dead body is buried, they used to keep one large huge stone which was kept, and they have buried the dead body, and that process which was in practice, it is called as megaliths. In the previous class, I have discussed about microliths. Do you remember? Yes, the middle stone age period, small crude stones when they used, that is called microliths. So don't get confused with microliths and megaliths. Megaliths are large stones which is kept where the people, they used to bury the dead bodies. We have discussed about Chalcolithic age and also Bronze age. When I use the term Iron Age, what did you understand? Yes, men started using iron. Even now, we are familiar with this iron. In day-to-day life, even from the fan, parts of the fan to the vehicles which we use, all the implements, some of the implements, it is made of iron. That means iron is even popular now. Iron is popular even now. So coming to Iron Age. During the Chalcolithic age, I have told copper, it was not so strong, and as it was not strong, men, they were ready to find new metals, and we are even familiar with bronze. Then we were even familiar with the tin, mixing of different alloys together and finding a new metal. Now coming to this iron ore, coming to Iron Age. The earliest human beings started making tools with stone, and later human beings discovered metals which proved to be more useful for making tools. So it is more effective, durability is very good, and it is very strong and sharper. Copper, bronze, and then iron copper, bronze and iron were discovered in that very chronological order. Just understand, first it was copper, first metal invented by men, that is copper. Then mixing copper with tin, we got a new metal which is bronze, and later we are familiar with iron. So we are even in the present world, we are depending upon this metal iron for day-to-day use, our own day-to-day uses. Discovery of iron was a very important landmark. It helped in making tools that were more lasting and durable. when we invented this iron, and I have discussed in the previous class, we Indians, we were familiar with the purification, the smelting of iron even from the ancient time, when the outer part of the world were not aware about this iron. So just understand, I have discussed in the previous class about, this iron pillar, Mehruli iron pillar. Do you remember? And even I told in Kudajadri, that was the first iron pillar erected by the tribals. In Karnataka, that region, we are having a lot of iron ores. That means ancient time itself, people were aware about the smelting and the purification of iron. So just understand, the people, they have learned about the different alloys which are made up of two or metals in fixed ratios, and a new metal. Another metal, it is called as brass. Brass is an example of an alloy. Just understand, a new metal which is used by men, that is brass. You might have seen the lamps and all, even now, which we are using, which is made of brass. A lot of brass utensils are also there. Then we have learned how to make steel by adding carbon to iron. So along with this iron, mixing carbon with iron, we got a new metal which is called as steel. From the Britishers' time itself, India is very active in the production of steel. You have heard about Tata. Tata is having a company called TISCO, Tata Iron and Steel Company, which was established during the time of Britishers. And do you know, India stands at the second position in the production of steel, and fourth position in the production of iron. And much later, modern science gave us a very useful material called plastic. Now, we have discussed about Iron Age. Now, coming to plastic. If you check the day, it starts with plastic. The brush, from the brush which we use to the chairs, each and everything which we use, the water bottle, everything, lot of things, we are using this plastic. So just understand, as years pass, we are aware about a new product or new material called plastic. Plastic is still used for making all kinds of tools and objects of everyday use. So for daily usage, we are depending upon this plastic, which is cheaper, and durability is also good. So we are depending upon this material called plastic. So here it is plastic age, right? You must realize that every age of human development presents its own set of challenges. So everything, it is having both positive side and negative sides. As excess use of plastic, is it good for our health? No, right? At the same time, just understand, once when the plastic cover, you think that you have digged in the ground area, and it is believed that even after 1,000 years, if you go and dig it, it will be there. We may not be alive, but plastic will be still there in the atmosphere. So what can we do to save our Mother Earth? So it is now the scientists, they are trying to now we are familiar with biodegradable plastic, which can even decay in the environment. So just understand, the plastic, excess use of plastic which cannot decay in the environment, which will be affecting the human life. Even lot of animals, they are eating plastic, and it is affecting the life. So these have to be addressed as humans evolve to the next stage. So just understand, the only thing we can do with the plastic is that reuse of plastic. So you might have seen when we dispose the waste, plastic waste, it will be collected separately out of wet waste. So just understand that to save our environment, we are reusing, we can reuse this plastic. Why do we say that the tools made during the Chalcolithic age are better than the tools of the Stone Age? I will repeat. Why do we say that the tools made during the Chalcolithic age are better than the tools of the Stone Age? Second question. Enlist the basic factors which led to city life of early humans. So you will be listing like the discovery of fire, invention of wheel, and the usage of metals, all those metals, everything it will be mentioned here. Enlist the basic factors which led to city life of early age humans and what is the importance of those factors today. So, what all are the importance of those factors like discovery of fire, wheel, all those invention, how it is influencing us today. How did community life and religion shape the functioning of society in the early age? List the changes in the life of early humans brought by the discovery of iron. So, how the life has changed by the discovery of iron. Thank you. Jai Sai Ram.